Hello everyone, welcome to Live Interactive English. I'm Mike, and today we turn our attention to an article titled De-extinction, and then it asks a question. Should we bring species back from the dead? Well, that's a pretty big question, and that's also a very strange word we see there at the very beginning. De-extinction. It's actually kind of a made-up word. We often use de at the beginning of something to sort of say not or the opposite or to stop doing something. Extinction is when things just die out, right? A certain type of animal cannot live anymore on the earth. Its habitat changes, it starts to suffer from disease, it gets hunted till there are no more left, and that is then extinction. So de-extinction would be bringing animals that have disappeared from the earth back to life, or as it says in the question, should we bring species back from the dead? And I think the only answer you really need for this question is to watch one of those Jurassic Park films. Doesn't Jeff Goldblum in the first one say, this is a terrible idea? Maybe species become extinct for a good reason, and if we bring them back, we're all going to get eaten by dinosaurs. That's basically what could happen. Or maybe it's more complicated and interesting than that, and I expect that's actually the right answer. So let's find out about de-extinction, and we'll try to answer this question, should we bring species back from the dead?
You may have heard of the Tasmanian tiger, but you most certainly have never seen one. Along with many other species over the past 100 years, this creature became extinct because of humans. Now, scientists in Australia and the US are trying to bring it back to life. Bringing species back from the dead is known as de-extinction. Though it sounds like something from a science fiction movie, new technologies have made de-extinction a very real possibility. To bring back an extinct species, scientists take stem cells from a closely related living animal and edit the genes. Then the cells grow into a new animal. This new animal is not an exact copy of the extinct one, but it's very close. In theory, scientists could create entire populations of animals and set them free in the wild.
So yes, de-extinction. Should we bring species back from the dead? Well, of course, if you've seen Jurassic Park, you're thinking dinosaurs. No, we shouldn't bring dinosaurs back from the dead. They'll eat us all, and it will be terrible. It will be a good movie, but terrible in real life. But then again, we could de-extinct or bring back from extinction other smaller, kinder, gentler animals. Think of the passenger pigeon, the cute little dodo bird, or what about a nice woolly mammoth, a big hairy elephant? That might be kind of nice, right? Well, as we begin the article, we get another example of an animal that has gone extinct that we could bring back from the dead. And from the name of this animal, I'm not quite sure this would also be a good idea. It says, you may have heard of the Tasmanian tiger, but you most certainly have never seen one, unless it's in a photo, kind of like this. You can see the Tasmanian tiger kind of looks more like a dog or a wolf. It's got cool stripes and lots of teeth, lots of big teeth. But don't worry, they are extinct. There aren't any more. The last one died out like 100 years ago or something like that. But what about the future? Well, it says, along with many other species over the past 100 years, this creature became extinct because of humans, right? It lived in Tasmania, that large island off the southeast of Australia. I believe it was hunted, the habitat was destroyed, the animal went extinct. It is no more in nature. Now, it says, scientists in Australia and the US are trying to bring it back to life. Wow, that's pretty exciting and slightly scary. Let's just hope these scientists know what they are talking about. All right, so when we get to bringing species back, it says bringing species back from the dead is known as de-extinction. All right, extinction is when the animals naturally just become extinct or, as I said, disappear from nature. So if you bring them back, de-extinction. We're kind of making up a word here for something we've never been able to do before. The only other place you might have thought of this, of course, is, as the article says, though it sounds like something from a science fiction movie, new technologies have made de-extinction a very real possibility. Yes, science fiction movies and books, sure, in the imaginations of writers, this is something people have thought about for a long time, but modern science is making it a real possibility, something we could actually be able to do in a very short time. Now then we read, to bring back, notice those quotes again, because we've never done this before. To bring back an extinct species, scientists take stem cells from a closely related living animal and edit the genes. So they're not actually going to find an old body of a Tasmanian tiger and bring it back to life like Frankenstein's monster. They're going to do this on a genetic level by editing the DNA. When you edit something, you're basically cutting out the parts that you want and maybe leaving the rest for another time or just tossing it away. When we edit genes, we're basically cutting out different chemical strands in that genetic line, and we're manipulating them, we're moving them, we're attaching them to other genetic strands to kind of create a new form of life, but basing it on older, more established forms of life. It says, advances in technology have allowed scientists to more easily edit human cells. This, of course, is something scientists have been experimenting on with humans. Then it says the cells grow into a new animal. So take some of the original Tasmanian tiger DNA, attach it to a current living modern animal like a dog or a wolf, and hey presto, you have something that's close to the original animal. It says this new animal is not an exact copy of the extinct one, but it's very close, right? We don't have all of the genetic material needed, but with enough, and then also by combining that with a current animal, it will be very close, but not exact. When something is exact, it's 100%. It's very precise. For example, I can't remember his exact words, but he was very upset. I didn't write down what he said at the time. I didn't record it, but I can give you the idea, although I don't know the exact or precise words. Back to the article, it says, in theory, again, this is all just an idea that scientists have. In theory, scientists could create entire populations of animals and set them free in the wild. Entire meaning all, 100%. If you eat the entire cake, you eat all of the cake. You didn't even leave one piece for me. That was very selfish. I wanted that cake, but you ate the entire cake. You ate all the cake, so there's no cake for anyone else. Here's another example. Kelly spent the entire morning working on her speech. She didn't take a break. She didn't stop to go to the gym. She didn't do anything else. She spent the entire morning, all the hours of the morning, working on the speech. I'm sure it's a very good speech. So let's take a quick break, and then we'll be back to find out more about de-extinction.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。今天的课文标题是 De-extinction. Should we bring species back from the dead? 去灭绝，我们应该让灭绝的物种复活吗？这边先补充一下 extinct 这个形容词，它是表达灭绝的、绝种的，它是形容词。那名词 extinction 它表示灭绝、绝种。标题里面在前面加上 de 连字号变成 de-extinction， 则表示去灭绝。这个字首 de 就有除去啊、否定或是相反的意思。那说到灭绝的物种 ，Mike 老师他有提到 passenger pigeon 是旅鸽，还有 dodo bird 渡渡鸟，还有 woolly mammoth 就是长毛象或是毛猛犸，它们都灭绝了。好，那课文有提到说，在过去100年里呢，塔斯马尼亚虎和许多其他物种都因为人类而灭绝了。那现在澳洲跟美国的科学家正试图要让塔斯马尼亚虎复活。Mike 老师在描述这种动物时有提到 stripe。STRIPE stripe 表示条纹，老师也提到栖息地遭到破坏，这时候用到 habitat 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 表示栖息地。好，那什么叫做去灭绝啊？也就是说啊，让物种呢死里复活。科学家他们从一个亲缘关系非常接近的现存动物的身上去取出干细胞来编辑基因，然后呢，这些细胞会长成新的动物。虽然这种新的动物并不是灭绝动物精确的复制品，但是已经非常接近了。理论上来说，科学家他可以创造出整个动物族群，然后把它们放到自然环境当中哦。好，文中的 gene G-E-N-E gene 表示基因，它的形容词是 genetic， 在后面加上 tic 变成形容词，形容基因的或者是遗传的、遗传学的。好，那单字 edit 它是动词，表示编辑、剪辑。老师还用到动词 manipulate， 它是拼作 manipulate，manipulate 表示操纵或者是操控的意思。再来 exact， 它是形容确切的、精确无误的。entire 则是形容整个的、全部的。好，那我们接着回到课文中。
If successful, the De-extinction project in Australia could have a positive effect on the environment. Tasmanian tigers could help bring balance to Australia's remaining forests by hunting and killing animals that are harming the trees. Indeed, something similar happened when wolves were reintroduced to Yellowstone Park in 1995, with deer and plant populations rebalanced as a result.
All right, so we are back with the sort of science but still kind of fiction idea of de-extinction. It's not science fiction from a book or a movie, but it is something that scientists say they could do in theory, giving us the idea that they haven't done it yet, but they could. So let's look at what would happen if they were successful. It says, if successful, the de-extinction project in Australia could have a positive effect on the environment. Okay, you'd have to talk to some scientists, botanists, people who study animals, the environment, and how animals interact. But some of them say this would be positive. When I think of the Tasmanian tiger, I think of the big teeth, and I think of it trying to make me lunch. And I don't think that might be positive, but the scientists know a lot more about this than I do, and they say it could be positive. Something positive is generally good. It's something that changes things in a good way, makes things better in some kind of way. When we talk about a positive of a situation, this is a good thing that could come out of the situation, but there could also be the opposite. There could be negatives. A negative is something bad, something you want to avoid, something that will definitely not be considered good or making things better. It will be considered bad or making things worse. Here's an example for the word positive. He is always smiling and giving off positive energy. Good, helpful, kind, nice energy that makes things better as opposed to negative energy. Let's find out some of the positives. Well, it says Tasmanian tigers could help bring balance to Australia's remaining forests by hunting and killing animals that are harming the trees. If you've been paying attention to the news, you know that forest fires and brush fires in Australia are a big problem. If the Tasmanian tigers can help control the animals that are damaging those trees, making the fires more likely, causing more harm, that would definitely be a positive, because we don't like things that harm the environment. To harm something, this verb means to damage something, to have some kind of negative effect on it, you could say. Here's an example. Adam was careful not to harm the bird as he put it back on the tree branch. Oh, maybe this is a small bird, it's been injured. It's very delicate. He could damage it or harm it easily, so he's careful to not harm it, to not cause it any injury. Back to the article, it says, indeed, something similar happened when wolves were reintroduced to Yellowstone Park in 1995, with deer and plant populations rebalanced as a result. Yes, there is kind of a bit of history here we could point to. Wolves were reintroduced back to Yellowstone in 1995. They brought a community of wolves down from Canada, I believe 20 or 40 of them. Most of the wolves in and around Yellowstone had been killed a long time ago, often by farmers who were afraid the wolves would attack their animals, their sheep or their cows. The farmers would hunt them. But indeed, when they brought the wolves back, it was a big success, and now there is a healthy population of wolves living around Yellowstone. When we say indeed, we're kind of making a further point. It gives you more of an emphasis on what we said before. For example, Mr. Handy is indeed a funny writer. He is definitely a funny writer. Everyone would agree with this point. So there you go. What do you think? Reintroducing or de-extincting animals. Do you think this is a good idea? What about in Taiwan? There might be some good candidates for de-extinction here, right? We've lost some animals over the years, so something to think about. We're going to have more on this interesting topic coming up tomorrow. Until then, bye-bye.
好，课文接着提到说，如果成功的话，澳洲这个去灭绝专案呢，将可能对环境产生正面的影响。塔斯马尼亚虎可以猎杀那些危害树木的动物，帮助平衡澳洲剩余的森林。你们知道它之前受到森林大火所苦吗？好，那其实在1995年呢，狼被重新引进黄石公园的时候，就发生过类似的事情。那么鹿跟植物的数量因而重获平衡。老师在讲到科学家的时候提到 botanist B-O-T-A-N-I-S-T botanist 表示植物学家。再来看单字 positive， 它是形容词，形容正面的、积极的。那么 harm 在这边当动词，表示破坏、损害或是危害、伤害。Indeed 是副词，表示其实或是实际上、的确、确实。Mike 老师也说到一个我们很常见的副词，叫做 definitely。definitely 就可以表达肯定的、当然、明确的。好，那这边两个重点，我们进入文法时间。好，刚刚课文呢有一句提到说 ，If successful, the de-extinction project in Australia could have a positive effect on the environment. 如果成功的话，澳洲这个去灭绝专案将可能对环境产生正面的影响。我们看到其中的 if successful 是由 if it is successful 简化而来，这种省略 it is 的用法也很常见于像 if necessary 就是 if it is necessary 省略而来，表示如果有必要的话。还有 if possible 就是 if it is possible 省略而来，表示如果可能的话。举例来说，If possible, I would like to take a trip to Japan next year. 如果可能的话，我想要明年去日本旅行。下一个重点是 with 加受词加受词补语，这个句型是用来表达附带状况或说明原因。那么受词补语可以用现在分词 V-I-N-G、过去分词 PP、形容词或是介系词片语。我们用分词来当受词补语的话，就看这个受词跟受词补语的关系，主动就是用 V-I-N-G， 被动就是用 PP。我们来造两个例句。It's bad manners to talk with your mouth full. 满嘴食物还说话是不礼貌的哦。那这边用 full 形容词来当补语。She couldn't concentrate with the kids running around. 孩子们跑来跑去，她没办法专注。孩子们会主动跑来跑去，所以我们这边是用 running， 是用现在分词 V-I-N-G。好，那么以上这些讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
You may have heard of the Tasmanian tiger, but you most certainly have never seen one. Along with many other species over the past 100 years, this creature became extinct because of humans. Now, scientists in Australia and the US are trying to bring it back to life. Bringing species back from the dead is known as de-extinction. Though it sounds like something from a science fiction movie, new technologies have made de-extinction a very real possibility. To bring back an extinct species, scientists take stem cells from a closely related living animal and edit the genes. Then the cells grow into a new animal. This new animal is not an exact copy of the extinct one, but it's very close. In theory, scientists could create entire populations of animals and set them free in the wild. If successful, the de-extinction project in Australia could have a positive effect on the environment. Tasmanian tigers could help bring balance to Australia's remaining forests by hunting and killing animals that are harming the trees. Indeed, something similar happened when wolves were reintroduced to Yellowstone Park in 1995, with deer and plant populations rebalanced as a result.
Everybody, I'm Jamie.
I'm Toi.
And today we're playing a game called Guess the Bear, where we each have 3 cards with words or phrases on them, but instead of saying those words or phrases in these sentences, we're going to actually say the word bear instead. So are you ready to guess the words?
I am, Jamie.
All right, let's get started. So, one word, adjective. The performer had the bear audience's attention, and she spent her bear career working at the same school.
Entire?
Yes, very good. Verb, one word. In the future, we may be able to bear our DNA, and I bared my paper to make it easier to read.
Replicate?
Not quite.
Copy?
In the future, we may be able to bear our DNA, and I bared my paper to make it easier to read.
Duplicate? Simplify? Oh gosh. Next
one.
one.
Okay, one word verb. Smoking is known to bear your health in many ways, and he didn't want to bear animals, so he became a vegetarian.
Harm.
Yes, very good. Let's
Okay.
go back. All right, so in the future, we may be able to bear our DNA, and I bared my paper to make it easier to read.
Easier to read. That was like simplify. Clone. Oh my gosh.
Similar to simplify, sort of. The word's edit, so I was like,
Edit.
you're changing it. Like, in the future, we may be able to edit our DNA, and I edited my paper to make it easier to read.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
very close, very close.
I was all around it, but not edit.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Ready? Mm-hmm. Okay. Adjective, one word.
Okay.
He has a bright bear demeanor.
Okay.
Two, you should study both the bear and negative outcomes.
Positive?
Yes.
Oh,
it's
okay.
positive. Next one. Adjective, one word. What was the bear time you saw the suspect? 2, we can't give out bear details at this point in time.
Any? Wait.
Keep going.
Last? Wait. Can you say again?
We can't give out bear details at this point in time.
Any more?
Keep going.
Let's skip it.
Okay. Last one. Adverb, one word. Shakespeare was a great writer bear. He does have a pet pig at his house.
He does bear have a pet pig? Okay, say it again.
Shakespeare was a great writer bear.
Playwright? Wait.
Adverb.
I don't know. Oh, no.
Indeed. Shakespeare
Indeed.
was a great writer indeed. He does indeed have a pet pig at his house.
What was the other one?
And the last one, exact. So what was the exact time you saw the suspect? Yeah, that was, those were a little hard.
What was the second sentence?
We can't give out exact details at this point in time. Yeah, it was a little harder.
Yeah, oh well.
But you did good. You did good.
See you next time.